Do we have a prize for this year? Are we doing the charity donation?
Uh,
Like maybe we pick which charity to give to, or like let the patrons decide or something.
how about we'll say right
Um,
now the prize is TBD, but we'll
yeah,
discuss
that's
it
fine.
and we
We'll
can.
discuss it with the community over the course of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like we have
Maybe we
we have
maybe we
so
should
many of
make an
these.
actual trophy.
That would not be a bad idea. We should make a belt or
Like we
something,
make an actual trophy and we figure out beforehand who was won and then we get it shipped to their house.
and we ship it
And then we
every
can be like,
year.
oh, I won. Yeah.
Every year we should mail it back and forth. That would be so funny. Yeah, I like that idea. That's a good idea.
All right, we'll get the trophy made up ready for the end of the year then.
Okay. So I'm sorry. We should make it this year because I won already. This
What
is
do you
good.
mean you won? No, you fucking have not won. I won last year's
won last
predictions, so
year's
let's get that
predictions.
sorted right. No, you did not. I won last year's predictions.
Excuse you. I won the Metacritic, and then we tied on the other one. That means I win.
Fine. Okay, fine.
That's
If you
all-
want to get one made, then get it shipped to your house, and then we can show it off and say we've got the
Out here telling me you won the predictions. Unbelievable.
I thought I did, to be fair.
What's that? Sarah says she can hear you all the way over here. She's sitting
Sorry,
over
Sarah.
What's up, Internet? You're tuned in to episode 22 of the FlipScreen Games Podcast, a weekly video game podcast where two best buds from different nations come together to discuss the wide world of video games. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined, as always, by my very good friend and co-host, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello.
Hello, Steve. This is going to be a juicy one, all right?
Oh, no, I can't wait.
This is the proper, the real predictions. I know we did a little bit of a we were speculating about releases last week on Nintendo Noise, but these are the predictions you've been waiting for, both on this show and on Nintendo Noise this week. We are doing our official 2022, predictions, which obviously we did last year. We checked in on them from time to time. We had kind of a no prize going, as you heard in our little preamble before the show. Now there's a trophy on the line, right? So, this is the real main event here. All right, gang. So I am ready to defend my title into 2022 and to be the victor because honestly, I don't want to mail that trophy to you. That's going to be a huge pain in the ass.
I mean, let's be honest. Based on your track record, it wouldn't make it here. Anyway.
It'll just stay here forever. We'll make two versions of the trophy, but you're only allowed to show it off if you win that year. Anyway, so we're going to get into all of that in just a little bit, but before that, let me remind you that this episode of the FlipScreen Games podcast is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of January, and they are, of course, Andy Radford, Christian Oliveria, Christopher Valenz, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, aka Asobi, Smilky Shake, Wakahula, and Zaid Ida. Thank you all so much for your support over on patreon.com/FlipScreenGames. Y'all are the realest of the real, and I know that you're excited to hear these predictions, right? But we got a couple plugs for me to throw at you before that. So remember, if you want to go and show your support over on that there Patreon, there are a bunch of goodies and perks that you can get your grubby little mitts on, including our Patreon exclusive show, One More Thing, where this week Steve and I talked about our New Year's resolutions, some of the things we'd like to kind of, keep our minds on, working towards in 2022, some of the things we'd like to personally and professionally achieve. So if you want to go listen to us talk about kind of, reflecting a little bit on the last year, looking our eyes towards the future and kind of talking about our goals for this year, it was a good conversation and well worth your $2. And of course, the best way to show your support and get a little bit of extra content in the feed. Speaking of extra content, don't forget that we are streaming on twitch.tv/FlipScreenGames every week. Wednesdays, Steve's doing solo streams. He'll be back this week with his first episode of a brand new game that you in the community have voted on. Steve, do we know what the game is yet?
No, we do not know what the game is yet. So
Okay.
the poll I'm going to close. It's going to close out on Tuesday, so I'll be making the pick then. So you've got today and tomorrow to go and vote, as of the time of this dropping, and then you can come tune in at 6 p.m. UK time on Wednesday to check out the game.
There you go. So if you haven't cast your vote yet and you are a patron, make sure you go do that. If you are not a patron and you want to cast your vote, hey, what better time than now to go subscribe? In addition to that, there's also a bunch of other cool things you can get. You can get access to our Twitch archives. You can, vote on our weekly streams. You can become a Patreon producer. You can even get a personalized message sent to you from us every month if you'd like. So lots of cool stuff you can go get your hands on. So go check it out. Great way to show your support, and we of course really appreciate it. But
yeah, and I just want to say we'll be back this Thursday, Pete. We had a tie last week with the patron vote for the Twitch stream. It was a tie between Splatoon and It Takes Two. You couldn't make it, unfortunately, because you went very well. So me and Chewy played some Splatoon 2 with the community, which was great fun. We were able to play League for the first time, Pete.
because I wasn't there.
Modes, because you weren't there. And this week we're going to play It Takes Two. So
Beautiful.
tune in on Thursday as well.
Yes.
Is it 6:30 Eastern,
6:30
11:30 UK time?
Yeah, so check that out. We'll be there playing It Takes Two. I'm really excited to finally play that with you.
Me too. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a good time. I imagine we'll probably do that for the next couple of weeks while we finish that out. So, yeah, make sure you come and tune in for it. And if you can't catch it live, hey, if you're a patron, you can get the archive. But if you don't have any money for us, that is fine. There are a bunch of free ways that you can show your support and interact with the show. Head over to FlipScreen.games. That's our website with links to everywhere you can find us all around the web. You can write into the show at questions@FlipScreen.games. Come join our Discord, which is a safe, inclusive place for you to come talk video games, find next-gen consoles, and just generally meet, nice folks like you who listen to the show and enjoy what we do. And you can come talk to us. Keep the conversation rolling after the show, and hear from all the great people who are always writing into the show. It's great. It's a great little community, a great place for you to come chat games, and we hope you'll come and be a part of the show that way. And then, of course, links to all the other places you can find us all over the web. I'm gonna ask this, because this is something I realize I don't do enough in these plugs, is it would really be helpful if you are an audio listener, which it seems like the vast majority of our listeners are, head over to our YouTube channel. Give us a subscribe, like the video, whatever you want to do. Really helps us out. And if you are one of those audio listeners, or if you're one of the YouTube folks, head over to the audio side of things and just give us a nice little 5-star rating wherever you check out the show. Spotify's got 5-star or got star ratings now, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. Wherever you listen to us, please go give the show a rating and some comments just to let folks know that you're enjoying it and help us get discovered by new listeners so that we can keep growing the community and the show. Thank you so much. So, that's enough shilling for now. Let's talk about what we're playing this week. For me, it's kind of like cleanup time of the year right now, right? We got the first couple weeks of January before Pokemon Legends Arceus comes out, and a bunch of other games that are on the horizon.
I'm less looking forward to that. I'm more looking forward to digging into Uncharted again with the PS5 re-release. I think it's gonna be really nice. Yeah, because it's only 10 quid to upgrade for both of the games. So I'm looking forward to checking those out.
I was thinking about maybe I've been thinking about replaying those. I'm like, maybe I stream them. I don't know.
I went back and I put the Nathan Drake collection in, and I was just like, oh, the gunplay in that original game is so bad.
That's fine. It's like that's not why you're there, right? Like the gunplay's that's not the main event.
No, I know it's not the main draw, but there's so much of it in that first game. Like there's a big emphasis, like the opening scene, you're on that boat and shooting stuff, and it's just like there's no like auto aim, or when you like press L2 and it will switch between the people. None of that happens. You kind of just have to move this repticle all over the place. It's not great.
Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. I can live with it. I bet. Maybe. We'll see. I played those games for the first time years late, and I still like them. So,
fair enough.
I don't know how I'd feel about them today in 2022. God, that feels fucked up to say. I'm not going to lie to you. Every time I think about that, it's 2022. I'm like, oof, living in the future. Anyway, so I've been closing stuff out kind of in the lead up to all the new releases that, we're hotly anticipating in January and February. So I finally closed out Halo Infinite. I think I had talked a little bit about, yeah, so we did. We had that whole episode at the end of the year last year where we talked about how we were getting on with Halo and our impressions on it and everything. And I chose to play the game on Legendary for some reason, which was both a good choice and a bad choice because it was challenging at certain points. Like there were a few junctions or like boss fights or whatever where I really struggled and I had to really put in the work to get it figured out. But actually getting through it, like beating the last boss fight was like such a triumphant moment. I felt like such a badass and was like, I literally like audibly screamed and was like, yeah, like, yes, I did it. I beat the game. It's over. And immediately after beating it, went and played multiplayer for like an hour or two. And it was the first time I had played multiplayer since I started the campaign. And I was cleaning up. And
of course.
And granted, I really miss the grappling hook. Like, not just having that all the time is something that I'm going to have to get used to because it was such a prevalent thing in my play style. But yeah, like, I feel like my chops are, I was afraid that like focusing on single player, I would come back to multiplayer and suck. And I was like, oh no, like I'm good. Like my chops are tight right now because I've just been playing so much Halo. So yeah, it feels good. I'm excited to get back into multiplayer now that I'm done with the campaign, and I imagine I'll probably still be playing a little bit of Halo every day, at least for the foreseeable. Oh, maybe not every day, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think at least until Pokemon and Horizon comes out, and then I think that'll be
back burner for a while.
Yeah,
at least with Horizon, because like Pokemon, I could see being like
I want game style secondary thing.
Yeah, or like, I want to break from Pokemon, so I'll play some Halo or something like that. Where it's like, this because it's like a very like Pokemon's slow, right? And sometimes I'm very very like mood based when it comes to games. Like sometimes I want to just play the slow 50, 100-hour RPG and take my time with it, and sometimes I just want to be playing something that's very gameplay oriented and be checking boxes in open world or doing like tight platforming or something like that. So it's like, I feel like Halo's multiplayer will be a good off game for me when I'm, playing whatever the big releases that I'm chewing on right now and I need something to like break off and, just clear my head and do something gameplay oriented or whatever. Like I think Halo will probably remain a part of my active gaming diet for a while here, especially if they keep putting out new content. Because since I had not played multiplayer for a while, all of the new playlists and everything that they added were all like new to me. And it was super exciting to be like, oh, cool. Like, I have all these new dailies to, like, go do 2 rounds of Tactical Slayer, go do 2 rounds of Team Slayer, go do Free-for-all, like, and they have, like, the Fiesta mode where it's all random items and like, that kind of stuff. So it was, like, very easy to play for 2 hours and not play a game mode more than, like, once or twice. And I literally didn't play a single match that wasn't Slayer the entire time I was playing.
No, that's good because I got so frustrated with it always just being capture the flag, and on the big map modes, it's impossible unless you're with a good team that that you can communicate with.
You gotta come play with me now, Steve. Come on, we gotta go do Slayer.
Hey, I've got other stuff I'm playing. I don't know if I'm gonna have time to come and play that with you, but we'll see.
You and your PS5. I'm all Xbox now, Steve. So the other thing, so once I was done with that, and I kind of wanted to get into something a little bit slower, I jumped back into Mass Effect 3, and have kind of reoriented myself in that. Because that took a little bit, right? Like, it's when you pick up a game that you were in the middle of, and you're like, what the fuck was I doing? And how do I play again? And, okay.
I really think you're going to struggle with Deathloop coming back. Like, I didn't realize that once you've done the the like leads, it doesn't prompt you for them again. You kind of have
Yeah.
to remember what they are and where to go to do them. Like I think you'll really struggle to piece that together and figure out how, like, which order you're going to do it all in.
I might just have to start the game over, which is I think the primary reason I haven't gone back to it is I'm like, oh, this is gonna be like a thing. I'm gonna have to like restart this game or like reorient myself, and I feel like I remember a lot of the details. Like I remember which of the targets I've already killed, and I remember how I killed them. So I feel like I could redo those things if I needed
Yeah,
to.
but
Like
I killed them in a specific way, but then you find out, like, I ended up having to kill 4 of them in one place. And I think that's what you have to do in order to finish the game.
yeah, you do.
So getting all 4 of them to one place, which is like the final place you need to be at the end of the game in order to do the final thing that you need to do, is the puzzle. And that's what you can figure out, is how to get them there.
Yeah.
And remembering how to do that and which order you do the other things in order to get it there. It's like
That's the problem.
That's the tricky bit.
Yeah, that's where I'm gonna have to start it over. But yeah, it's fine. I'll get to it. So I'm closing out Mass Effect 3 now. I was most of the way through the game when I put it on pause for newer releases. Coming back to it, I realized I wasn't actually as far as I thought. I was like, oh, okay, like I remembered which mission. I thought I remembered which mission I had left off on, but I had actually left off on like a couple beats before that, and I was closing out side quests before getting to that because there's like a point of no return that's coming up. So I'm at the point now where I've closed out most of the side quests in the game. There's not a lot left to do. So I'm kind of like shifting towards like, all right, I'm gonna start like when new side quests come up, I will divert and do them, but otherwise I'm kind of just working towards the ending now. So I imagine there's a good likelihood that by next week I'll be done with it. We'll see. It might take me a little bit longer, but especially if I'm still playing Halo. But we'll see. I'm wrapping up on it sooner than later. And I only have a few other games left in my backlog. So like I'm getting there. Like I think that if anything, I might wait to go back to Deathloop because I think I have to restart it, and I might circle back to that after Horizon because there's going to be kind of another quiet period for me.
We'll
theoretically, yeah, theoretically. So we'll see, but yeah, I'm having a good time. I really wanted to finish out Mass Effect before the rest of the games of this year come out because I think the further I get from it, the less likely I'm going to be to come back and finish this old ass game. And I know that I'm going to want to have this save ready to go when the new Mass Effect comes out. So I want to finish it while it's still fresh for me for the most part. So yeah, I'm going to really dedicate my energy the next week or two to close that out. And then we'll see what I have time for before Pokemon. But I have a feeling that not too much, honestly, because it's fast approaching. We're only, a couple...
It'll be next week as of the time of this recording, right?
No, it's the week after that. So it comes out on the 28th. It's the last Friday of the month. So I've got 3 full weeks before Arceus comes out to finish whatever I have open.
Okay, that's not too bad, yeah.
Yeah, it's doable.
You can do it.
I wonder if I could also beat Deathloop in that time.
Yes, you could. Like,
I probably could.
I know for a fact it's 19 hours long because the PlayStation has this very lovely time tracking feature where it tells you exactly how long you spent in the game.
All right, maybe I'll start that over then and try to finish it before Pokemon. Oh God, that's tough. We'll see.
Especially considering you've already played most of the game, you should be able to, like, you've got the grasp of the concepts and what you do. And like I was going around in loops that I didn't need to go around in.
Right.
You could probably finish that game in like 10, 12 hours if you really know what you're doing.
Yeah, there's a lot I already know. Yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see. So anyway, you have been playing some Deathloop. You've also been playing some Ratchet and Clank. You've been you're knee deep in this PS5 life right now.
I am, yeah.
How's it going?
Very, very deep. I love the console. I really do. I have issues with the controller, as I've said before, and I think we'll probably explore that in more detail on another episode because I put a poll out a couple of weeks ago like figuring out how people hold controllers, and I think that really comes into play with how comfortable people find the controller, which is interesting to me.
I am baffled that you have this take. I'm really like genuinely
I have baby
surprised.
hands, like they're tiny hands.
Your
And
hands must be so much smaller than I realized, though. Like, because I don't see a significant difference between the Xbox and the PlayStation.
no, it's the way you hold the controller. So the way like the curve and the controller sits in your hand is very different. They are quite similar in size, but the PlayStation controller is a lot more bulbous on the grips, and I can't grip it
It's
how I
so
would
funny.
grip an Xbox controller. I sort of have to do this like hand hammock holding it in my hands where it's sort of like
Claw.
floating. Yeah, and I've had a bunch of people on Twitter say the exact same thing to me, that they've had the same issue. And there's tons of people on Reddit that said the same thing about this controller. And I really am amazed that this is the design they settled on, especially considering the PlayStation has such a huge Japanese market and they have smaller hands than people in the West. It's mind blowing to me.
I don't know. I guess I have big hands. I don't know. Like, because it's like, it's one of those things where like, you know, like people will bring something up and you're like, oh, like this isn't a problem for me, but I can totally see why that would be a problem for another player, right? Like, or something like that, right? Like, doesn't even have to be in the realm of video games, right? Like, I don't know, whatever, right? Like, oh, like I'm a short person and like I need a chair to be a certain height or my feet won't touch the ground. And you're like, oh yeah, like I'm not short, so that's not a problem for me, but I could see why that would come up, right? Like, to me, when you said this, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I was such an
I've
alien.
shown you a video of my that you can visibly see my thumb struggling in the way that I like
It's crazy.
classically hold a controller.
I know. It's just it's odd. Like I never ever clocked that as a thing. Cuz it's like I think about like the Duke, right? The original Xbox controller, and it was like this thing is fucking massive. And I remember, like, it's obviously fucking huge. But when you were like, this controller is enormous, like, what's going on here? I was like, what are you talking about? It's not.
It's the distance of the sticks from the left and the right. I think
Okay.
the stick on the Xbox, you sort of come in on an angle, like you're coming in from above, so you have more leeway on where the stick goes. Whereas the PlayStation controller sort of wants you to grip it further down, and you're just moving left and right. You're not coming in from above. So I have to hold it in a way where I'm coming in from above.
Interesting.
I've got used to it now. I've adapted to it. I'm fine with it. I can hold it. It still causes me some discomfort at times, but I have RSI problems anyway, so that is probably part of the reason why I struggled with it, and it was causing me pain. But other than that, that controller is phenomenal. I love the adaptive triggers. I love the adaptive triggers more so than the rumble. I think the rumble at times can get a little bit annoying for me. In Deathloop, I found it especially so. Although it was a good indicator of when you're crouched or not, because I feel like the crouch indicator in that game leaves a little bit to be desired. It's just got a vignette around the screen, and sometimes I forgot that I wasn't crouched, and I would go into an area where some games have like an indicator on the screen to show that you are sneaking or you are crouched. So there was times where I just walked straight into an area, and all the Eternalists saw me immediately and started coming for me, and I would just like run off and get out of there. But Deathloop, I think if I'd have finished it before the game of the year discussion, would have firmly made it on the list. That was one of my favorite games of last year. I had such a good time with it. I loved it. I thought the puzzles that you had to solve were interesting and fun. I loved the concept of the story. I didn't like the ending, but I won't spoil it. I'll wait till you finish the game so we can talk about the ending.
About it more.
Other people may love the ending, think it's great. I'm interested. If you've played the game, drop me a DM on Twitter or on Discord, and I want to discuss it with you, because I haven't spoken about the ending with anyone, and I'm really interested to mull it over and talk it through with someone. But I loved it. I thought it was such a great game, and the action and the like moment to moment stuff. Once you get those slabs and those special powers, and you like figure out your loadout and get exactly how you want that matches your play style, you just feel like a superhero. It's insane.
We should get you to try Dishonored.
Do you know, now I really want to go back and try this on it. I think I would love it, especially considering I know it's got like the same like dash thing that you
The
can
blink.
do where you can like
Yeah.
teleport and things to go
Yeah.
around the place. That's the one of the powers I always had equipped. I had that equipped.
Yeah, damn
And then
right.
like
Of course.
it's so good.
It's like
That's
the best
the
fucking
one to
power
go for.
ever. It's so fucking good. Like, it's just
I
like,
had that one and Nexus equipped all the time. So when there was like a group of them, I just shoot Nexus at them. They're all linked together.
Yep.
You pop one in the head, all dead. And it had the sacrifice upgrade, so it would give me health back if I was low on health. Just fire Nexus straight at them, you get the health back. It's so good.
That's another power that's in Dishonored 2. The link.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So I love it. I thought it was great. I loved that game.
Yeah.
So good. It's just such a shame it was a PS5 exclusive, because I feel like way more people need to have access to this game. It's so good. I can't wait for it to come to Xbox, hopefully this year.
I actually think that will end up being something that plays to its advantage, though. Like, I think the fact that it came out as a PS5 exclusive and, like, made huge waves and was, like, if you played it, you know, pretty much everybody agreed that it was a masterpiece, even if you didn't like the story or whatever. It was, like, gameplay-wise, technically-wise, it's really, really incredible and cool and dynamic. So it got all that positive attention. It got Game Awards attention, you know, on and on and on. And then it'll come to Game Pass and it'll be a game you can play for free. Like,
yeah,
I feel like if anything, the PlayStation release is like, will hype it up for the Xbox audience. They're going to be like, oh, fuck, yes, we can play this game for free now.
Play it. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and for, you know, for nothing. Like, that's huge.
Yeah, I agree. And I never played any of the Protect the Loop stuff. I don't have PS Plus. I don't plan on getting it anytime soon.
It's fun.
And it seems like it would be fun, but towards the end, I was growing tired of Juliana showing up in my game. I was just like, for fuck's sake, I really just want to just do this, execute this plan in my head that I've got, where I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do this, and you've got to show up and fuck my day up. And I get that that's the point of it, but the only time I ever enjoyed having her there was when I was low on like the reloop. I can't remember the revives.
Yeah.
And when you kill her, you get them all back. It like replenishes them. You're up to the ×2 again. That was the only time I was happy to have her around. Or at the beginning of the game, where I wanted to get her slabs that she had, so I could upgrade the ones that I'd got, or get ones that I hadn't.
Yeah, that was like a really
required
cool.
Yet.
That was a really cool thing. Like early on, like I remember in one of my early runs, somebody who was a real player who had been playing for a while and had all these slabs came and attacked me, and I got slabs from missions I hadn't even gone on yet, and I was like, oh fuck, like awesome, like I got invisibility early or something, like, you know, something like that.
Yeah,
it's cool. Like it does have it adds an X factor to the game that I definitely appreciate, but it is frustrating as hell when you're just about to complete a mission and you're like, fuck, now I gotta go find Juliana, or like wait for her to come kill me.
And then also go and unlock the tunnels. It's like an additional aspect. When I often was just like, right, I've done this mission before, I know I can do this in like 15 minutes. I'll quickly go in, I'll do this before dinner, and I can come straight back out. Then Juliana shows up, and then of course, because she's there and she's attacking me, all of the other Eternalists know exactly where I am, so they're coming after me as well at the exact same time as Juliana is. And then I've got to complete the mission and then unlock the tunnels, and then I can finally leave. It adds like additional time onto it that I never truly planned for. And I guess maybe that's like partially my fault. Like I should anticipate that, oh, Juliana might pop up at some point and things like that. But yeah, other than that, other than the ending, I liked the story as a whole. I think the more I mull on it, the less I like it. But I like the concept and the premise. I think that's really cool. And
the performances are
great.
Really good too.
The performance is so good. Like I loved the banter between Colt and Juliana, and not really knowing their relationship and their connection, but exploring that and figuring it out as the game progresses. I just think it's a phenomenal game and everyone should play it. And at least in the UK, this is so cheap at the moment. It's like £30 everywhere. My dad ended up picking it up for like 25 because he had like a voucher. Such a good deal for such a good game. and I'm really glad I got to experience it. I mean, yeah, I can't really say any more than that. I love it, and I think everyone should try it.
I'm really glad you got to try it out too. I mean, obviously Arcane is like one of my favorite studios, and I'm glad that this is not the first game you played from them, but now you've played 2 games this year that really resonated with you. So I hope they've made a fan of you as well. And yeah,
I think so.
I could not recommend their stuff more highly. Whether it's this, whether it's if you don't have a PlayStation 5, Dishonored and Dishonored 2, both on Game Pass. Steve really enjoyed what he played of Prey. It was a little scary for me, but
I liked Prey, and I kind of wish that this was more open as well with Deathloop, but I just don't think you can execute the game in that way, just because of the time progression and needing to figure out the puzzle of getting them to a specific area at a specific time and it being connected by tunnels. Whereas Prey is very much open world and you can explore that space station as much as you want. I know like, Dishonored is level based, right? It's
Dishonored's also level based, and I like that about it because it gives each level its own, like, oh, this is this level. Oh, this level's this is the one where you go to the masquerade party. Oh, this is the clock, what is it called? Not the clock tower. Clockwork? The Clockwork Mansion? Oh, I can't think of what it's called. I think that's right. But it's this insane level in Dishonored 2 where you go into this house that this scientist has built, and every one of the walls moves, and like there's like 100 different ways you can get through it. Because all the walls will just start moving, and you can use like one of your powers to go jump into the side of the wall, or you can I'm gonna sneak up to the top floor. Like there's all these crazy ways you can do it. It's one of the best designed levels I think I've ever seen. So yeah, I absolutely adore Arcane, and I'm so happy to see them have a big commercial and critical success with Deathloop, but also like with Microsoft behind them now, they don't have to worry about that. They can just keep delivering awesome games that are critically acclaimed and not have to worry about whether or not they're popular. So yeah, like everybody should go check their stuff out. All right, so let's move into these predictions here, Steve. And I know you said we wanted to flip a coin to.
I'm fine with you taking it because, as you said, you're the reigning
I was
champion.
the winner.
If you want to go first, that's fine.
Here's the thing, Steve. So we did this with the game of the game of the year, right? We're gonna establish some new status quos. I think let's establish a status quo. Do we want the winner to get the first pick as a reward for being the winner, or does the loser get the first pick to give them a better shot?
Maybe that one then, because then I get to go first. And I also think that's a bit fairer, right?
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
It's tough because it's like I think either works. You want to reward the person who's played better, but also it's kind of like they've
already got the trophy. They've already won.
Yeah, and it's like
they've got the glory.
Isn't that how chess works too, right? Like black always goes first or white always goes first, but then the next game it's the other.
Yes, it's the loser.
So, like I feel like that's fair.
I think that's how tennis works as well, right?
Gives you first draw.
You win a match, you get the next one, yeah.
Yeah, and that gives you a shot to put yourself back into it. So I'd say let's decide on that. Another new rule I'd like to establish, this is something we discussed last year, I think we should have half points. So I think if you...
What is a half point? Like, how do we decide what a half point is?
So I'll give you an example, right? Last year, I remember one of my predictions was there will be a new like Zelda remake from Grezzo, right? Was one of my in honor of Zelda's 30th anniversary or whatever. It was one of my predictions. This year, if a new Zelda remake had come out, but it wasn't by Grezzo, that would have been worth half a point. So I think what you can do... I've
got a couple like that. I've got some like this and it's also this.
Yeah, and I did that as well. And I have a few where it's like, this happens and this happens. Or this will happen.
But I'm not having it if you're like specific, like this studio is going to do this and then another studio does this. And I can give an example when I get to one of my predictions.
Okay, we can discuss them when we're in the mix, but I just want to establish the idea of half, quarter, whatever points. I think
I'm fine with that. Half points, I think, is fine. And the risky pick is double the point. So if you have a half a point on the risky pick, you get 1 point.
I think that's fair.
If you get the whole thing, you get double.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. That's fine. Fine with me.
Cool. All right.
So we've got 10 plus the risky pick.
I actually have more than that. So yeah, but we'll do 10. I have extras just in case we have overlap.
That's fine. I've got 1 extra.
Okay.
But I guess I'll go first then. And I've gone with my super safe one first because it's like the only safe one I think I've got.
The only one, huh? Okay.
Yeah. PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus will be combined into a single service, which I think is super obvious because we've had like a rumor basically confirming that.
All right. Okay. I feel like that's a little. That's
what I'm saying. It's very safe, right?
They've already said that,
disagree?
Though, right? Like
they haven't said it. Sony hasn't said it. This was a rumor from some person. It was from
Bloomberg, right?
Yeah, well, Bloomberg also said we were going to get a Switch Pro with DLSS from.
Yeah,
NVIDIA,
no.
I'm
just confirming. That was the source of the rumor. I actually had that. I had something like that. I had PlayStation Spartacus is real and will release. It won't be looked at as a legit competitor for Xbox Game Pass.
Well, that's fine because that can be your number one if you want, because I don't think it's the same thing as mine, which is PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus are being combined. Like that could be a whole separate thing because they were talking about it's going to be like a separate tier. Maybe this is like a new service. Maybe it's like PlayStation Game Pass. So,
but I guess my question is, how do we determine if this is correct then, though? Because if Spartacus comes out and it is a new tiered version of PlayStation Plus, how do we gauge whether or not PlayStation Now is combined into a single service? I think
because they have to say PlayStation Now no longer exists and it's part of PlayStation Plus.
But what if PlayStation Now doesn't exist, but its features don't come to this? You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying.
Well, the features will come to it because the features of PlayStation Now are you pay and it's like a subscription service, which is like Game Pass Lite. You already get some downloadable games.
But my point is,
what features are you saying are part of Spartacus? It's like the PlayStation 2 games, PlayStation 3 games,
and then like streaming and stuff. Because PlayStation Now is streaming, not download. Well, I think
it's both.
There's some games you can download, but there's some you can't. So okay.
The streaming's going to happen because we know they've partnered with Microsoft.
Essentially, what we're saying here is that the PlayStation Spartacus rumor is real. Is essentially what you're saying, right? Is that
yes?
Okay,
yeah.
Fine.
But if they don't announce any new features and it's just PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus are a single service now, whether they rebrand it as PlayStation Plus Now or something, then that's a single service. PlayStation Now has to disappear or PlayStation Plus has to disappear. It becomes one thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
And yours, I think, has to have some of the rumored features.
I mean, I'm not going to do mine. I think it's too similar. Personally.
Okay, fine. All right, that's fine.
But okay. All right. Okay. All right, so fine. My number one is Xbox Game Pass will come to TVs either via app or set-top box style hardware like a dongle or stick.
You can't have the TV one because it's already been announced for Samsung TVs at CES.
No, it hasn't. They said that they didn't. No, he said that there would be a game. Well, maybe you're right. Let's confirm. Because I'm pretty sure he said that they were interested in bringing Game Pass to TVs, but that Samsung news, I don't think it included Xbox. It was Google Stadia and NVIDIA Shield's thing, and I think that's it. But let's confirm because I don't want to. Yeah, I don't see that anywhere. I googled Xbox Game Pass Samsung.
Samsung has a service called Samsung Access, which on there says Xbox Game Pass, along with Showtime, YouTube TV, YouTube Premium, YouTube Music.
But is Xbox part of that?
Well, it's listed as a service.
It says here, all right, there's a tech radar that says Xbox is getting a smart TV app and streaming stick for cloud gaming.
It's already been announced.
All right,
It was
fine,
on the
fine.
Xbox
That's
blog.
fine, fine. I'll remove it from the list then. That's why we have extras, right? All right, so fine.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Which one do I want to go with next? Because I think you'll steal it.
Oh no.
Okay, all right. My next one is going to be PSVR 2 will not be released this year due to chip shortages.
Interesting. Okay. Fair enough. My number 2 is exactly PSVR 2, and I say PSVR 2 is releasing this year for $499, and it will also work with PCs.
Wow. Bold. Very bold. Okay.
So this is the one I get a half point if it releases for $499, but it doesn't work with PCs, or it releases for PCs and it's a different price.
Well, you could get a third of a point too. Because if it comes out this year, you could get a third of a point. If the price is right, you get a third of a point. And if it also works on PCs, you get a third of a point. But if any of those are wrong, you lose points.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fingers crossed. Don't let me down, Sony. It's got to be that price. And I think that price is. I actually think it could be more than that with the specs that they announced. It's insane. I just worry that they won't want to price it more than the PS5 itself, because that's a very hard sell for a headset. So that's why I've gone with the exact price of what a PS5 costs.
I think that makes more sense. I don't know. I don't think this is coming out. I know they announced it and like we know it exists, but like literally just the other day, Steven Totillo from Axios tweeted, I asked Sony if PSVR 2 would be out in 2022 and if it'll be backwards compatible with PSVR titles, something many people asked me to ask them yesterday. Neither was addressed yesterday. Sony PR says they have nothing further to announce at this moment, so stay tuned. I don't know. I feel like, yes, we know PSVR 2 exists. We know they're working on it. I don't think that it's imminent, and I think that...
No, you could be right, because they also announced a car at that show and said they're making a car, so it was very much this is our plans for the future kind of thing.
And don't get me wrong, I think it's in active development. I think it's planned for the next couple years, but I think the idea that it's going to come out this year when it's already tough to get your hands on a PS5, I don't know. I think this is maybe like a next year after that thing. More midway through the console's life cycle, personally. Okay, so my number 2, you'll see chip shortages are a running theme in my predictions. Number 2 is Xbox will not release a new hardware SKU at the end of Xbox All Access due to chip shortages.
Okay, right. Fair enough then, because I have the exact opposite to this.
Good.
Microsoft
we're keeping it interesting.
Microsoft will release new hardware available through Xbox All Access. Now, I don't know if this is a new console, if this is the streaming stick that comes with All Access and you just pay for that and it's part of it. I don't know how it's going to work or what this is going to be. Who knows? It could be like a VR headset at this point. But I do think we're going to see something for Xbox All Access people to jump on.
So, okay. So for this to count for you, it's any piece of hardware that comes out through
any piece of hardware, but it has to be a new subscription for Xbox All Access.
So, but does that count if they make a new SKU? Like if they were like, oh, we're having a new like this is a new package for people to
Series
jump in.
Y, it can be.
But it would have to be new hardware.
Yes, new hardware.
Right.
Or like a refreshed Series X would count. Like if it's a smaller version of it, that would count.
Right. Okay.
Something for people to upgrade to. Say a 1 terabyte.
But
Series X.
I want to just be clear there. It has to be an upgrade, correct?
Yeah, it can't be like Series S is now available. Series X is now available.
That's what I wanted to. Yeah, because I was gonna say I don't. It can't cover
something
both
unannounced.
of those things. Yeah, it's got to be okay. All right, cool. I'm good with that. All right, cool. Okay. I have another one that's just I feel like maybe a little too easy, so I'm gonna skip it for. All right, I'll do this one. Number 3. Oh, NFTs will be an extremely common talking point in gaming this year. They will be unpopular with most gamers and largely unsuccessful. Backlash or regulation/pressure from governments will cause traditional games publishers to get gun-shy about it in the latter half of the year.
All right, let me bring my NFT one into this then.
Do it.
Which is a publisher or developer will make a point of saying, and it doesn't include any NFTs during the presentation.
I love that prediction. That is a great prediction, and I think you're 100% right. I think my thing will happen, and then your thing will happen as a response to that. It's going to be a Phil Spencer type or whatever, and be like, no. Fuck that. We know you hate it. Yeah. We're cool. We don't do that. What's up, Xbox? Like, that's going to happen. Absolutely. That's a great prediction. Okay. Where do we go next? I got 7 left.
Okay.
We have 6 left to do on the board.
I want to hear your ones that you didn't go for after we've done
we can do that
as well.
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
At least one of them is just too easy, I think.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, wait, I think I actually deleted one by accident. Yeah, okay, there we go. Whoops. All right. All right, here's one. I'm going for the throat on this one. Steam Deck will be delayed again.
Oh, no, don't do that to me, Pete. I'm so excited.
It's supposed to come out next month, and we haven't heard anything about it. It still doesn't have a release date. That's not coming out.
It's out. Wasn't it delayed to Q? Oh,
February.
It was delayed to Q1.
It was delayed to February, and it's now January 9th, and there's still not a date for it. No fucking chance.
It's out Q1 2022, so if this ain't out in February, you're 100% right. I could say, well, I guess March. When does Q2 start? April?
I think it's the end of March. Yeah,
okay.
It's the end
so that's
of
fine.
Q1.
So I think you could be right on that one.
I'd say even if it doesn't come out in February, I'm right, though. If they put it out in March, that's still a delay. On their website, it says February.
Okay, fair enough. If it
I looked it up before
fine.
this just to confirm.
Okay, fine.
On the Steam Deck page, I'll pull it up right now.
It says it's coming out. Okay.
Do you see that or?
No, I haven't looked yet.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right because there's an FAQ and it says.
It says we start shipping to customers in February 2022, based on our updated build estimates.
Exactly, correct. So yeah, if it says here we are aiming to start sending order invitations again by February 2022 as well. So I don't think that's happening.
All right, okay, yeah, we will begin shipping in February 2022. As long as one is shipped, we have one shipped. That doesn't mean it's in a customer's hands. Then I think it's fine. They have to announce that.
I said it's getting delayed. So even if they ship it to some people, if they delay the overall.
No, they have to announce a delay. They have to say, we're really sorry. We can't do this. It's now going to be March.
They also don't have to announce it. If February comes and goes and nobody has one, I'm also correct. One. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think we'll know it when we see it.
I think the thing is, if the scheduled wide release does not occur in February, I get the point.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay.
Okay, number 5. A new Xbox controller with adaptive triggers will be announced. I think people want this, and I think Microsoft know people want this. I'm not sure if the haptic stuff will come, but I do think that we'll see a controller with adaptive triggers, and I can probably see it coming to the Elite controller.
I think that's a good prediction. I don't know that it'll happen, but I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I'm getting down to the ones of like, will Pete say this at this point? I'm like, shit, because I've only got one
I'm
spare.
Oscillating, between like the crazier ones and the easy ones that I think you might try to say. Okay.
I will say most of mine aren't easy or things that you will say.
Here's my next
probably one more that I'm concerned about that I'm going to say next.
Horizon Forbidden West releases in 2022. God of War Ragnarok is delayed to 2023.
You can't have Horizon Forbidden West release in 2022, right? Then we know for certain that's going to happen. It's like coming in February. Like if this was due in like December, then maybe, but Like, we know for certain that one's coming out in 2022.
I mean, do we know anything for certain?
We know that.
Uncharted 4 had 3 release dates, Steve.
I don't think you can have that one, but I think you can have the God of War Ragnarok.
My point is that both games are slated for this year. And
so
I
Gran
believe
Turismo 7, and we've seen nothing on that.
Well, I'm not predicting that one. I don't have any thoughts on that. My prediction.
You're just trying to get an easy half point.
No, I'm not. I genuinely believe this. This is what I'm predicting. I predict that one of these games will hit their release date and one of them will not.
Then change it to Horizon Forbidden West will not be delayed. And it comes out on the date that it has at the moment. Because I think 2022 is like, that's a long way to be delayed from February all the way into next year.
Fine. Horizon Forbidden West releases on time. God of War Ragnarok is delayed.
Fine with that. No problem with that.
But I'm going to change it to just delayed then. It doesn't have to be in 2023.
Sure. Okay, fine. I've got a new Astro game will be announced. I think it's time that we get an expansion on Astro's Playroom. I could actually see this coming to PSVR.
I think if you're right about PSVR 2, then I think you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, you could be right either way. Because I could be right and it doesn't come out this year, but they could still announce Astrobot Rescue Mission 2 as like, here's your first look at PSVR 2. Yeah,
we've already had our first look. It was the Horizon game that no one knows anything about and looked like it was on rails, and I was a little bit disappointed by.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. All right. This is one of my easier ones. Sony will reveal their first new internal PS5 IP. And I put in parentheses here, Returnal doesn't count because obviously Returnal was made before Housemarque was acquired. So we had that story break earlier this year where I believe it was Herman Holst. Who had said that they had, I think, 25 games in development and half of them were new IP. So I think it's time for us to see, more about the future of the PS5, because I think when you think about what are the Sony first-party games that have been announced and revealed for the console, they are all either out or imminent at this point. We don't have any other Sony first-party developed games on the horizon. Excuse me for the pun. So I think it's time for them to show us what some of these other studios are working on and what are some of the other ideas that are in play. And I think we'll probably see more than one, honestly. But I think I could very much see Sony having an event that's akin to that E3 presentation they had in like 2013 or 14, where they were like, here's Horizon, here's God of War, here's The Last of Us Part 2, I think. And they basically were just like, here's a roadmap for the next couple of years of the console, right? These are games you can look forward to from us. This is why you want to be playing on PlayStation. I think it's time for Sony to have an event like that, especially once...
And a Marvel thing doesn't count? Like, it can't be like the Wolverine thing. It has to be their fresh thing?
Well... I mean,
it's a new internal IP.
I guess you could argue that counts, but I'm talking about
we've already seen that. Like, we've seen Wolverine, but you're talking about fresh
about
story,
a new IP. Yeah, not because it's like I get what you're saying. We're like, yes, technically a Wolverine series from Insomniac is like a quote unquote new IP, but I'm talking more like the next Horizon, the next Uncharted, the next God of War. It's the next original idea from the Sony studios. Is what I mean.
I think it's about time we see something new from Naughty Dog at this point. They're hard at work on something, and I don't know what it is.
I mean, the thing is, they're hard at work on like several things. Like they have a new IP they're working on. They have Last of Us Factions. Like there's a lot that So, but that's the thing.
Presumably the Last of Us remaster as well. That got taken back over by them, didn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, like there's so many things that they could, because it's like you think about it, right? Like we know that Ragnarok is the last game in the God of War Norse series. So we know Cory Barlog's team is off working on something else. We know Naughty Dog's working on a new IP. I wouldn't be surprised if, Like we know that like Sony Bend is working on something new. Like we know that London. I don't think we know what they're working on.
They got
right
shut
now.
down.
Wait, did they? Who am I thinking of?
Yeah, I think they got shut down, and so did Japan studio.
I know Japan's gone and Asobi's there, and I agree with you that they're working on Astrobot. But either way, right? Like Sony's got a lot of studios in their belt
and obviously
that
all
we
the
don't
new
know what they're doing right now.
Yeah. I could see it happening. I could also see the exact opposite happening, like where they just reveal new games in existing franchises that haven't existed for a long time. Like there was that rumor that after Days Gone 2 got rejected, that a reboot of The Resistance as an open world game was pitched. Whether that got picked up or not, who knows? So I could see the exact opposite of this happening, and this year we just see new thing like existing IP, new games in existing IP.
So just to be clarified, London Studio is still open. They just put out Blood and Truth in 2019. So like they've been working on VR stuff. So I would imagine they're probably working on a PSVR 2 launch title. So I don't know I don't know that we would see that. But I mean, again,
I think we are going to see that. I really think PSVR is their Christmas thing this year. I think it's the holiday season. We get something fresh out and new for that.
I don't, but I also think that like that doesn't mean that doesn't happen. Right? Like, just because it's not out this year doesn't mean that they don't talk about it. Right? Like, they gave us all of the specs. Like, it obviously is a concrete thing that exists. So, like...
I just see it as, like, this thing has been announced in the exact same way the PS5's been announced. It's like, we have a quick thing where it's like, we tell you this thing exists and is real. Then we're going to give you a spec sheet on the PlayStation blog. And then, like, 3-4 months later, we'll show you some games. And then finally, you'll get to see what the hardware looks like. And then it'll release, like, 2 months later. I can see the exact same thing happening this year with PSVR 2.
I just feel like it makes more sense next year. Because, like, ideally... well, we'll talk.
That's why I think it's working with PCs as well. Because it's more of a sell. We sell this hardware that we're probably going to make a profit on. It works with PC VR as well. It's not just for PlayStation 5 owners. They buy that. Then when the PlayStation 5 games come out, maybe they're like, well, I already own the PSVR 2. These games are exclusive to pay at PlayStation 5. Well, whether they will be or not, who knows, because of PlayStation's PC plays. And they can play those games as well.
Okay. I mean, we'll see. I think either of us could be right, honestly. I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. But, I don't know, hardware shortages being what they are, just feels like a weird time to put out another expensive, hard to get piece of hardware, but I don't know.
It's more niche though. It's way more niche than a console.
That's true.
So they can make a lot fewer of them.
Yeah, that's true. But it's like, does developing those get in the way of getting PS5s on the shelves, which is your main business?
Who knows?
I don't know. I don't know enough about the hardware to say. Okay. So
right.
this is U7.
Horizon Forbidden West will be available on PC in 2022.
Not a chance.
I think this is happening.
Not a chance. Not a chance. I mean, if you're right about this one, I am totally ready to eat my hat when it comes to PlayStation on PC. All fucking bets are off if that's the case. We shall see, though. Okay. Yeah, you know what? I've been dancing around this one, and I think it plays into so much of what we said that I'm going to just say it. Worldwide chip shortages will continue console droughts into 2023. I think that it will remain difficult to get a next-gen console throughout 2022.
I was going to say the exact opposite. I think towards the end of this year, I think it's going to become more and more easy.
Okay, we'll see.
But I'm not saying that's a prediction.
It's got to be one or the other.
Yeah. So my number 8, Activision Blizzard will unionize. This is more of a hopeful one. I really hope this happens.
This was on my list too.
It's about fucking time one of the big studios unionized. If it's not Activision Blizzard, I could see someone like Ubisoft doing it. But I really hope it's them.
I had a more vague one where it was, we will see the development of the first major video game developers union. But yeah, I think I think that Activision Blizzard is a likely candidate for that by, for obvious reasons. Okay. So my number 8 will be both Xbox and PlayStation will make at least one major studio acquisition each.
Okay, fair enough.
I think both of them have made big moves the last year or so with regard to acquiring studios. I don't think there's any sign that that's going to slow down. I think that consolidation of game development companies is going to be a big thing over the next couple of years, as it has been in other forms of media. I think with things just how they are worldwide right now, like a lot of markets are pretty volatile, and obviously games have been, on an upward trajectory, but things like hardware shortages, things like, game delays and stuff like that, all of those things are definitely becoming pretty commonplace. And I think that seeing the ways in which like COVID and the ongoing effects of it have continued to just disrupt regular life and supply chains and all those things, I have a feeling that more of those mid to small level developers who, self-publish but aren't owned by anybody, I think that that's going to be a really scary place to be for the next couple of years, because if you are in a work from home model and development's taking longer than anticipated, cash flows are drying up, so on and so on, you can read Jason Schreier's book, Press Reset, to see how easy it is for a studio to have one bad thing turn into the end of the studio. So the fact that we've seen so many of the kinds of publishers or developers, but also publishers who are kind of bastions of that middle of the road, like your Double Fines, who, were an indie studio, but also published a lot of indie stuff. Similar, like, Obsidian, who was like an independent developer for years and years and years and looked at as one of the strong independent developers, even Insomniac, right? All of those studios are starting to get bought up. And I don't think that that's like necessarily going to be the case across the board, that like studios like that can't exist independently, but I think that it will be easier for one or two bad fortunes to put you in a place where you're vulnerable, and it seems a lot safer to be under Xbox's umbrella than to be independent. Especially while Xbox is handing out deals like they are right now, where we've essentially seen them buy a ton of studios, do nothing to change them or their corporate structure or their culture, and just inject them with cash. And if that's what Xbox and, to a lesser extent PlayStation are going to keep doing, I think a lot of studios are going to be like, oh, well, why wouldn't we want to get acquired, right? There's no downside right now. Whether or not that holds true, I've expressed my concerns about that before, but I think that this trend will definitely continue at least for the next couple of years while things are volatile and while there are companies who are afraid of what their future looks like.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that 100%. I don't like it so much. I was even going to have something crazy like Xbox acquires another publisher.
I don't think that's crazy.
Risky picks.
I still think they might buy Sega. Like I feel like that rumor has a ton of credence. Like, or at least maybe not credence. I think it makes sense. Right? Like, you're like, absolutely, it would make sense for them to do that.
Yeah, it's that big play into Japan if they wanted to go down that route.
And they'd own Sonic the Hedgehog and Atlas. Yeah, like, easy decision for them. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them, especially Microsoft, continue to be aggressive about buying up as many big studios as they can, as many as Phil can get approval to snap up.
I think Phil can get internal approval. It's probably going to be like markets and like people like the SEC that might have a little bit of a problem with him buying up a little bit too much.
That's the thing.
I'm surprised that Bethesda thing went through. If they want to buy, say, like EA or Ubisoft, it's not going to happen.
I think that's
allow them to.
Where it would be tough. But even that, there's like I don't know, dude. I don't think that would be a problem because like you look at like the SEC and like how we've handled that before. Like Disney bought Fox. Like Disney bought one of their three competitors, right?
You've got to deal with the EU as well, though, because both of them own studios in European countries.
Yeah.
And so you'd have to get approval from the EU, and they're traditionally a little bit more gun shy about acquisitions.
Definitely,
than
but
the
it's like,
SEC.
I don't know, dude. Like, the video game industry is so vast that, like, I don't think that people look at anybody below Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo as, like, or Epic, you know, like, those level of, like, I don't think that, like, we think of Bethesda and Ubisoft and EA and those companies as being titans because they are, but, like, they're a lot smaller than fucking Microsoft, you know? I don't know.
What about Roblox? We found out they're, like, fucking
sleeping giant. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, look at like Tencent. Like Tencent owns like stake.
Yes, them and NetEase, it's like very kind of concerning how much they own.
So it's like, I don't know, like I don't think it's, I feel like Xbox can get away with a lot more before somebody's going to be like, whoa. Personally, I think they could easily buy a Sega or an EA or somebody at least one more time before somebody like is, you know, pushing back on that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you're number 9.
Okay. This one you may object to because it has an or in it. So I want to find out. Half-Life Alyx will come to consoles, or a new Half-Life will be announced.
No, you can't do both. Those are two totally different predictions.
Well, I'm gonna go with.
I'd give it to you if it was more like connected, like, but like, yeah, those are like.
Fine. I'll go with Half-Life Alyx coming to consoles then. I think with PSVR 2.
It comes to PS5.
I think it could come to PS5, yeah.
I could see that. That's bold. That's a bold one. I like that. Okay. My next one is Rivet and Kit will be revealed.
Oh, I'd love that. I really would love that.
And you know, obviously it's a Miles Morales style spin-off.
So you're telling me it's going to have none of the puzzles with Clank?
Probably not. Yeah.
That's sad.
It'll just be.
What if it's not that and it's just called Clank and it's just the puzzles?
That game already exists and it's called Secret Agent Clank.
Oh, does it really? Okay.
Yeah. It's a PSP game, I think. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I might have to check that out on my Vita because I loved those puzzles. They were cool.
Okay. Number 10.
Right, number 10. People will say Cyberpunk 2077 is finally good.
No, you can't. People already say that. You can't include that.
I don't think people say that. I'm on about like we're going to have articles saying like Cyberpunk 2077 is finally a good game. I don't think anyone is saying that. I think the consensus needs to be Cyberpunk 2077 with the next gen update, with the fixes they've put in, it's finally good. Not just playable, it's a good game, and you should go back and check it out.
Hold on.
I don't think anyone's saying that. Anyone that's not a PC player, I don't think anyone's saying that.
But that's
maybe
huge,
caveat it
has
on
an
consoles.
It has an 86 on Metacritic.
On what platform?
PC.
Yeah. What about the other ones?
It doesn't matter.
All right, we'll say on console then. Does that count?
I don't know, man. Like, I guess that feels like.
I don't think anyone thinks.
How do we prove this though?
Right?
Like, how do we prove this?
Yeah, there has to be articles. Maybe we go back and it's like we're considering going back and playing it because people are like telling us, "Oh, it's actually a good game now."
So
they fixed the police.
You think it will be a talking point about how good it is?
I think it'll be like a turnaround story like we had with No Man's Sky, where it was a disastrous launch and they turned it around.
All right, look.
And then they were just like, you know what? No Man's Sky is actually a good game now. You should go back and check it out.
I'll let you put this on your list, but I think that the onus has to be on you to win the point. Like, I don't, it's like there has to be a high bar for you to actually get this point. Because I think that, like...
I have to play the game.
I'd say we'll have to limit it to the next gen release of the game will come out, and then it has a redemption arc a la No Man's Sky. I think we have to write down.
Okay, so some people say Cyberpunk 2077 is finally good after the next gen release, and will have a redemption arc like No Man's Sky.
Fine. I'm good with that, but like, that's got to be like a immediately noticeable. Like, I have to be, as your competitor, be like, yes, that happened.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, it can't be like, well, you know, some people.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want you coming
with. That's what
a...
I'm talking about. I want it to be like, there's articles going out, like the new release comes out, and it's just like, wow, look at what the CD Projekt Red did. This game's actually good now.
It sold a bunch more copies. Its concurrence on Steam went up. Whatever, fine. Yeah, I was just, because I don't want you coming with there's this one Polygon article saying, actually, it's pretty good now. Like, that's... I'm not, or like, it got an 80 on Metacritic. It's like, no, because then it's already cleared that threshold, in my opinion. So, like, it's got to be like No Man's Sky, where it's like, this game was a fucking joke, and now everyone agrees it's good.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, consensus. Got it. All right, I'm good with that. Okay, so my last one is kind of vague, so if we need to put some like qualifiers on it, I'm good with that. But mine is, video games will continue to take over Hollywood. So in the last 2 or 3 years, we've had a number of critically successful video game adaptations, between the Castlevania show on Netflix, The Witcher, you could argue, is maybe not, because obviously the books and everything,
that's based on the books,
but it takes a huge influence from the games, and they've said that outright. Like, specifically, Henry Cavill, who plays Geralt, has said that the portrayal of the character in the games influenced how he plays the character. So, you know, I'm not saying that's not
the Halo series as well, right?
You're right. And also Arcane, the League of Legends show, just came out to critical acclaim.
Are we saying it's TV then, more than movies?
Yeah, I'm saying like it's movies and TV. I'll change it to movies/TV.
Okay.
So I think what I mean by that is there will be at least 1-2 major video game adaptations that are released to critical acclaim. So that could be...
Then let's put that on then. Like, video games will continue to take over movies/TV with at least 2 critically acclaimed adaptations released.
Okay.
Because I think 1 is too vague, because we're already getting... And it has to be something that's unannounced. Like, it can't be the Sonic 2 movie comes out and everyone fucking loves it.
No,
it has to be something new.
No, I don't think it has to be something new. Because that's not how entertainment... I do. No, that's not fair. That's not how entertainment works. Like,
I don't think it's continuing to take over movies and TV then. Like, it's something that's not been announced. So you can't say, like, the Halo and the Sonic stuff comes out and everyone loves it.
No,
and then that means they've taken over movies and TV.
Yeah, like, you have to, though, because that's not how movies and television aren't released that way. They don't announce something and then put it out in the same year, right? Like, the Halo show, all we've had is a trailer for it. If that comes out and that's a critical success, that absolutely counts. Like, The Last of Us show.
I don't think so. I don't think
it has to. It has to, because the parameters that you're saying don't exist. Like, that can't happen. Just because of the way that
happen. Like, it can be more things announced rather than released.
But if they're announced, then they're not going to be critically acclaimed. That's like, so like, we need to decide what the parameters for success are. You said 2 things that are critically acclaimed. That means it has to be things that are already announced, or they won't come out this year. You know what I mean? Like, that's like...
But we already know there's going to be 2 or 3 critically acclaimed things this year. The HBO show with The Last of Us is going to be fucking phenomenal.
We don't know that, though.
We do know that.
Well,
and the Halo thing's going to be good.
Yeah, but...
So there's 2 straight away. And the Sonic movie, that's going to be good. Probably the Mario movie, that's probably going to be good because it's made by the Minions people.
Yeah, but again, we don't know that. None of these things have come out yet. So that's me making a prediction based on things that don't exist and assuming that they will have critical success. We could have said the same thing about the Assassin's Creed movie. It was made by a major studio. Michael Fassbender was a legit movie star and was in it, and it came out and it was nothing, right? So it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm fine.
But the stuff that's been announced, they're like sequels,
Halo and
like, it can't
The Last of Us are not. You
can't have like a new season of The Witcher comes out and everyone loves it, because that doesn't count.
I'm not. fine. A new season of an existing property is fine, but I don't think you can lump in things that have been announced and sequels to movies.
Like a sequel to Sonic. I don't think that count.
Absolutely counts. It's a new movie. That's like arguing that every movie in a franchise is automatically good because the last one was. I think about they just put out a bad Terminator movie like 2 years ago. But the first two Terminators, all-time classics.
Yeah, they're the only two good ones because they're the only ones by
But
James
that's my
Cameron.
point, right? That's my point, right? Just because Sonic was likable doesn't mean Sonic 2 will be. I think it will be, but that's the point, right? I'm predicting that. I'm staking my claim and saying at least two of these things will be critical successes.
Can we bump it up to 3? I'd feel more comfortable if it was 3 because I feel like we know 2's going to be good already. The HBO show's going to be good.
We don't know though. It's not fair for you to say it's not fair for you to be like, well, I mean, the HBO show is going to be good, so you can't predict that it's going to be successful.
HBO. Everything they put out is gold.
I mean, so what? Like, that's the whole point of the prediction is that, like, movies and TV based on video games are on the rise. They have historically been shit, and I think that we've hit a turning point where they're not now, and we're going to increasingly get good adaptations.
Okay. I think we need is there I guess Metacritic, like we could use maybe that score as like a threshold as to what's like critically acclaimed.
What's the threshold? Because where the threshold is where I'm gonna be comfortable. Because like again,
at least 80%. Like I want 8 out of 10s.
Let me say. Just because I'm looking up the Sonic Metacritic right now to establish a baseline. Yeah, so that movie has a 47 on Metacritic.
Cool. So no one liked it.
Right, so this is what I'm talking about. So how can you possibly say that, oh, that's guaranteed to be good? It's like, well, based on what? Because if we're going by critical acclaim, then I'm probably going to lose. Like, and that's
what it has to be on based on critical acclaim because you said 2 critically acclaimed
adaptations. Right, but you yourself just said I can't count it because Sonic 2 is guaranteed to be critically acclaimed. The first one isn't even critically acclaimed.
It's got to be a positive score on the Metascore on Metacritic.
Or what about I looked at Metacritic. What Rotten Tomatoes? That's what we should be looking at. Rotten Tomatoes, Sonic the Hedgehog.
I don't know the difference. I feel like there's the same thing, but
63. The audience score is 93 though.
All right, it's got to be confirmed fresh by Rotten Tomatoes then.
So 2 confirmed fresh.
Yeah, it's got to have like, you know, when you click on like
I know what it is. I'm just trying to confirmed. Oh, we'll say it's certified fresh. That's what it is.
Certified fresh by Rotten Tomatoes.
Certified fresh by RT. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And you have to tell me what they are and fight for it. Like, I'm not letting you have The Witcher season 3 as like that does not count because that show's already good.
No, that's bullshit. I'm pushing back on that now. If I have to have certified fresh by Rotten Tomatoes, it's released in 2022. Period. Okay. It has to be. Otherwise, you're just creating too many things against the point. Like, oh,
2
it has to be
fresh.
5 new things need to come out, and they had to have a 90 or higher on Rotten. This is bullshit. It's bullshit.
Fine, whatever.
2 releases, certified fresh. That's it. Agreed?
Okay.
All right. If we got to debate what they are later, that's fine. But we're putting a period on it.
Okay.
All right, you got your risky
picks now, right?
Yeah, risky picks. So our risky pick...
Microsoft will acquire Bungie as my risky pick.
That's the most insane thing you've ever predicted. I love it. That's absolutely wild. Okay. So just to remind you, the risky picks, these are ones that are things we don't think will actually happen, or at least we think that's very unlikely that they will happen. So they are worth 2 points if we get them right.
Mm-hmm.
So mine is Naughty Dog will release The Last of Us factions to coincide with the HBO series.
Okay. I don't really know what Last of Us factions is.
So,
is this the multiplayer thing?
Yes. In the original Last of Us, that factions was the multiplayer mode, and then they announced that they were going to be putting out a Last of Us factions for Last of Us Part 2. It was then delayed, and then they've talked about it, but every time they've talked about it, they're like, no, we're totally still working on it. However, if you'd like to work on it, here's a place where you can apply. So it's like, It's clearly still in active development. I don't think it's anywhere close to being released. They are juggling like 6 different projects over there right now between The Last of Us 2, like the remaster that they're doing that's going to be like the definitive part 1 and 2 collection or whatever.
And that's where I think it's coming. I don't think it's coming with the HBO series at all. I think it's all going to come as like one collection. This is The Last of Us. You get part 1, part 2, and the multiplayer. It's on PS5. And also, here's an upcoming look at the HBO show coming later this year. Yeah. I don't think it's coming for the HBO show.
I also don't think it's coming for the HBO show, but that's why it's my risky pick. Because here's my thought process. Do I think this is likely? No. But Sony also announced that they're making that new Twisted Metal game to coincide with a show. So I'm like, who knows? Maybe they're crazy and they're going to do this. It could work.
And they've released Uncharted with the movie. Right. You get a free ticket if you upgrade to the movie.
Yeah. So it's not likely, but it's also not totally outside the realm of possibility, which is, I think, where you want to be for this kind of prediction, right? Like,
what about mine then? You think mine's outside the realm of possibility? Because I don't think it's ever fucking happening.
I mean, that's the thing is, could it literally happen? Yeah, but no, right? Like, no, I don't think Bungie wants to be acquired. They got away from Microsoft. I don't think they want to go back. And if they did, why would you acquire them now, right? Like after you just put out your first good non-Bungie Halo game, it's like, well, what the fuck?
Because it's not for Halo, it's for Destiny. And I think Microsoft wants an MMO.
You're right. It wouldn't be that, but I just feel like optically the timing of it feels weird. You know, I don't know. Yeah, and that doesn't mean anything. I'm just I'm armchair quarterbacking, but like, I don't know. That just feels weird to me to be like, yes.
I just think like now. Microsoft is making bank from Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah.
Why not add another MMO into the mix? You've got your fantasy based one, have your sci-fi based one. You've got history with Bungie. Why not? Why not? I think the side that makes the least sense is from Bungie's perspective. They had a huge influx of cash from their NetEase investment. They don't really need to be acquired. It would more be like, yeah, we want to be acquired and we want our game on Game Pass and we want that rather than we need it in order to stay financially viable.
Right, exactly. And I think Destiny being one of those studios that, you know, that independence was hard fought, and it's not something that I think that they're going to be interested in parting with if they don't have to. And, you know, for as it stands right now, they certainly don't have to. Destiny's in a really healthy place. So, yeah, I can't imagine that happens, but it's certainly not outside the realm. They bought Bethesda, so I think
that was insane to me. Like, if either of us had predicted that, I think we would have just laughed at the other one.
Yeah, I would have been like, yeah, okay, sure. I think short of PlayStation or Nintendo, I don't think there's any studio that Microsoft couldn't acquire.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think they could have any publisher they wanted as well. They've got the money to buy it if they wanted it.
And if that publisher is willing to sell, right?
Yes.
But, you know, you put enough money on the table and that's how that goes. So, yeah, I think this is a solid list. I am very much looking forward to seeing which one of us turns out to be correct. I think we both have some solid picks here.
It's probably going to be you because mine are crazy. Although if PSVR comes out, I've got a couple of them.
That's the thing is a lot of ours are in direct opposition. So it's like one of us is right or one of us is wrong. And
yeah, the all access thing. Yeah.
You didn't put Game Pass coming to Switch on yours after you said
that's a Nintendo one. Let's go.
Right. Okay. I was like, where's that?
Yeah, it's not on here. So that's a Nintendo prediction.
I'm like, that's an Xbox.
It's gonna be over there.
Obviously.
Gonna have to tune in on Wednesday to hear me.
Okay.
Make a fool of myself about Nintendo again.
I mean, we tied. I wouldn't say you made a fool of yourself.
True. I did have another possible risky pick, which was Microsoft will make a mixed reality play on Xbox, because we had that comment from Phil Spencer about no one's asking for VR, we don't want this. But with PSVR coming out, I could see them kind of thinking like, oh, we need to compete. There's the stuff with like Facebook and the metaverse, like, oh, do we need to be in this space? And they've already got their Windows mixed reality headsets.
I don't think they will.
No, I don't think they will, which is why I went with a different risky pick in the end.
Because I feel like Phil's entire thing is like, we don't do that. Like, we don't do that shit anymore. Oh, hold on one second. My cat is in the basement and he's trying to get back up.
Okay.
Little bastard. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's like been his big claim to fame is like, oh no, yeah, Xbox doesn't do gimmicks now. Like, we don't do that shit. You know, it's all about games. It's all about software.
But having said that, like, I think people maybe looked at the DualSense controller as like, oh, this was a gimmick. Do we really need more gimmicks on the controller? But I think now people have played it, it really adds something to it. And I know we've had comments from Phil before talking about like maybe that coming to one of their controllers, which is why I went with that one. I think there's a thin line between gimmick and something that really improves an experience.
I agree with you, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I think if they can do like a mixed reality thing, I went with mixed reality rather than VR or AR because I don't know which play it would be. Like, I could see them doing something more AR focused than VR focused. I know they've been looking into that in the on the Windows side of things.
What was that thing they had? The Surface, right? Windows Surface, was that it?
They had like the table thing. You remember that?
With like the Minecraft
things on it.
The Minecraft. It was like an AR interaction with Minecraft or whatever. I remember that. Yeah. So I agree with you. In terms of like the difference between gimmick and innovation is like razor thin. But I think the idea of like innovating in like your controller in a way that, oh, cool, like if people take advantage of it, great. But if they don't, it's just a controller, is a lot different than, to me anyway, than like, we're going to create a VR accessory. We're going to create an AR accessory. We're going to do whatever. Because I think those things are inherently niche, right? Like, I think that's why VR has failed to take off in a big way, is partly because I just don't think the tech is really there yet. I think like consumer VR came to market maybe a couple years too early, where it's just like the caliber of things that we're capable of doing are like just not that interesting to anybody who isn't an enthusiast, let alone the fact.
I do think it's getting there though. Like with the stuff that PlayStation's announced with the eye tracking and the face tracking, and like the foveated rendering, which means what you're looking at renders at a sharper resolution, so you can focus in on it more.
Yeah, and like
I do think maybe the tech's getting there.
It's definitely getting a lot better and more impressive. But I also still think it's like, it's also a huge barrier of entry, right? Because it's like, for you to get it, you have to be wealthy. You know, like you have to have a lot of expendable income to be able to be like.
Well, yeah, I mean, I checked the launch price of the last PSVR, and it was $400, which is why I went with $500 for the VR2, because it's just significant upgrades on the first one.
Assume that that's still true, right? So it's $1,000 just to get your foot in the door. And then the games cost the same as regular video games, but they're not as good or as long.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like personally anyway, right? That's what turned me off of VR, is like it was not worth doing at the expense of playing other video games. And I think that that's something that like, I think that's one of the main reasons that like it's remained so niche, is that like for the average gamer, it's like, do you really want to plunk down the same amount that you spent on your console, or you know, half of what you spent on your PC to buy this additional accessory that only works with a handful of niche games that cost the same amount as regular games, but only take up a fraction of the time you would have spent playing a more traditional game, and you won't enjoy it as much anyway, and all of those things, right?
Enjoy it as much anyway, I think, is difficult. I do think that there is a lot of experiences to be had in VR, and I'll talk about it more next week because my Oculus is coming this week. And I can talk about on next week's show and talk about some of the experience I had. Like Beat Saber alone, I think is worth exploring VR for. It's so cool, like just so fucking cool.
Don't get me wrong, Beat Saber is awesome, but like I don't think it's worth like spending $600 to have a
but I don't think. I think there's a difference between like the Oculus Quest, which you can get for 300, and then the games are like is an all-in-one device. You don't have to have something else.
Yeah.
Versus I've spent $1,000 and now I've got to spend $70 on the Horizon like game, which is not a full game. It's like a experience. I agree with you in that regard. That is a lot of money to ask. Having said that, if something like Half-Life Alyx comes to it, or they can do a game with a PlayStation franchise in the same caliber as Half-Life Alyx, I think that's when people start talking about it.
And you're right, but I think that's the problem.
Think they have to, because like, why are people going to spend $500 on the headset and the new Sense controllers if there isn't those games and that software that they've committed to it with the Horizon stuff? I think if that plays out well enough, I could see them doing more things.
I just don't think it will. You know, I think because it's like, think about how many, because for that to be worth it, right? For it to be worth it, for that to be a thing that you write, it's the same reason that none of Sony's big first-party studios really made Vita games, right? It's like, okay, so you have two options, right? You can either, so by all accounts, right, from what we've heard from Sony studios, they don't go into their studios and be like, you need to make this game. We need a VR game, so you're making this, right? Like, that's not how they do things, allegedly. At least not with their bigger studios. They're not going to go to Naughty Dog and be like, we need a PSVR 2 title. You have to make a PSVR 2
I could see them going to Asobi and saying, we really want a new Astro game. PSVR 2's coming out. Can you make us Astro?
No, but my point is that the studios that do that do it because they're excited about it, right? Like the VR studios are VR studios, and they make VR experiences because they're excited about doing that or whatever. Fine. But it's like, okay, so Guerrilla makes this Horizon thing, right? And however many people you need to pull off of working on...
It's not even Guerrilla making it. It's a separate studio.
Oh, it is? Okay, so I mean that, well...
I think it's Firestorm or something, or working with Guerrilla.
Okay, so I mean, like, that speaks to my point anyway, though, right? Is that, like, does Sony want to take development power away from a Guerrilla or a Naughty Dog or an Insomniac or whatever to make a VR game that maybe in a perfect scenario, maybe 1 million people play, right? Or do they want to make Game of the Year contender Horizon 2 that 10 million people play and builds the IP and sells consoles? And like, I think that's a really tough sell. And like, yeah, like Astrobot's cool and everything. Is Astrobot going to sell units? I don't know. Maybe to some people, but not in mass. Like, I don't know. I oscillate about this, but I really think that long term, the most interesting applications of VR are not related to video games. I think that like
I think so too, and I also think most things are not going to be VR. It's going to be more of a play with AR and bringing things into a real physical space, like having a giant screen in your real physical room, but you don't actually have a giant screen there, and it can go away when you don't want it there because it's actually just rendering in a headset.
And there's things like I could see, you know, I've said this before, like Disney, like making like VR attractions where it's like, oh, like, you know, we're all in you're in like a laser tag room basically, and it's like, it's the Guardians of the Galaxy experience, and everybody's got a headset, and we're running around shooting blasters or whatever, right? Like, it's a Star Wars thing. Like,
did you know there's a Mario Kart VR game by Bandai Namco, and I really want to try it? It's like available in like 3 locations in the world.
I know
it's so crazy that they made so few of them and put them in such strange places.
I think that tech is also used in the Universal Studios Mario Kart ride. I think.
Oh, is it really?
I think it has
that
like
makes
a
sense.
VR interaction as well, or something like that. But I think those things are going to be a more common application long term of video. But like, I think the real way that consumer VR is going to get over is when I can be like, I want to sit courtside at a Philadelphia 76ers game, but I'm poor. VR, right? Like, I want to go to this concert. VR. That's where I really think the money's going to come from, more so than like, I don't think the future of video games is VR. I really don't. I think that I genuinely believe that 100 years from now, we'll still be looking at a fucking screen to play video games.
No, I don't think so. I think we'll have like AR glasses and things like that. Maybe that's how we play video games, but I don't know. I'm interested.
I have a hard...
I'll tell you my experiences with the Quest 2 next week, because there's some cool stuff on it, and I really would love you to try it at some point, because I do think. I mean, I don't know what have you played, like PSVR? Is that the only thing?
I've tried all of the Gen 1 stuff. So I had a PSVR. I've played a lot of stuff on Vive. I've played I haven't played Steam's one.
The Index.
Index.
That's like
I haven't
$1,000.
Yeah, I haven't touched an Index,
up.
but I've tried a Quest and the original Oculus, and so like I've tried all of them pretty much. At least a few times, and
none of them were like, oh yeah, I'm really hooked on this.
No, I mean, like, the thing is, like, it's cool. Like, I've had experiences in VR where I was like, whoa, that's really impressive, or that's really cool, but I've never had a single VR experience that I thought was engaging enough to make me be like, yes, like, I need this in my life. Like, I sold my PSVR because I stopped using it because it was cumbersome, and I didn't like taking the time to set it up. And I didn't feel like a lot of the software was really
that thing
playing.
was ridiculous. You had like the breakout box, 2 separate cables going to the headset. Yeah. You had to wear separate headphones. It was insane.
But it's like, even so, like, I've played I've at least tried the games that most people consider to be the best VR games on wireless headsets. And usually I play for like 30 minutes or a little bit more. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Or like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. Or, oh, my head is hot. This is uncomfortable. Like, I just really don't think that, I don't know, like, unless we can get literally, like, contact lenses or, like, light, like, goggles that I can just stick on and I don't feel fucking anything on my head, I don't see any universe where it is more enjoyable to engage with a piece of media through a fucking thing I have to strap to my head rather than a screen. I really don't. And I maybe... that's me being a future old person in the way that, like, my dad is like, why would anyone want a self-driving car? And I'm sure that cowboys were like, why would anyone want a car when you could have a horse? I don't know. I might be that old person right now and thinking that tech will never get there and there's no point and blah, blah, blah. But, like, I really think that the applications of VR are going to be unique things that only VR can do, not everything will be VR. I just don't see that. I really don't. I can't imagine a future where it makes more sense for me to go home and be like, better put on my goggles to watch the new season of Queer Eye. Like, I don't see it.
I agree with you but that's a social interaction. But say, for example, you're on a flight and you've got like super lightweight glasses. You just want to watch some like Netflix and block the world out. And you can have like an 80-inch screen in front of your face.
But like, it wouldn't actually be like that though, is the thing, because I have peripheral vision. So it's like, even if my lenses are
but it will block the side, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's like maybe. But like, I've never experienced anything or seen anything that's made me think that that's something I actually want. And I think that's where my trepidation comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But also, whatever, like, we'll see. I'm open to it. I'm not like a VR hater. I believe that it has applications that will be interesting. But I think like things like virtual tourism and education and things like that are going to be way more common applications than AAA video games, at least. I think there will probably always be VR games, but I think until the technology becomes a lot cheaper and more accessible, that they'll maintain their niche status for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think it's going to be a niche for the foreseeable future, just because of the cost of entry. Because, not even just the PlayStation and the VR you need and the games, you still need a TV as well. Like, if you don't have like this, you're ultimately spending like $2,000 before you can play a VR game on a decent setup. Same as on PC. Like, PC VR is unreasonably expensive, especially like if you're going down the Valve Index route. It's phenomenal amounts of money you spend.
And I think for my money, there are probably less than 10 video games that have been made that the vast majority of people would agree are good without the qualifier for a VR game. And that's where the line comes from me, right? It's like, yeah, those things are cool or whatever, but like, I'm good. Like, I am not. I tried. I was a big believer in VR and I bought early and I bit down and I'm like, it's not for me. I'm open to it, but I've not seen anything that leads me to think that it's something that I need to be paying more attention to. And until it makes...
Maybe PSVR 2 will change your mind.
Maybe so. Maybe, and I'm all open for that because the specs on it are very impressive. It seemingly solves a lot of the problems with the original, so fair play. Jury's out on that one. But Anyway, there's an additional 15 minutes of us talking about VR I didn't plan for.
What were your other picks before we round out the show?
So they were all the ones that I had left are things that were either things that you said or that got pulled because of things that didn't make sense. So I don't have any left that are like juicy or anything like that. It's kind of just like my own variations of things that you said. Did you have any others left over?
No, it was just the mixed reality thing with Microsoft. That was the only other thing I had.
Yeah, because I had up to, I think I had 14 or 15, and between like the two that got cut because of like, oh, well, it's not fair for me to say this, or this already is confirmed or whatever, or things that you said. Yeah, like I got down to my last one, so good thing you agreed to that movies and TV one. Otherwise, I would have had to think. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us here on another episode of the FlipScreen Games podcast. This was a really fun one. I hope you enjoyed hearing us wax about what we think's coming next as much as I had thinking about it. Because I'll tell you what, the hour before this show, I was sitting in the shower just racking my brain, like, what's gonna happen here? How can I maintain my victory here in 2022? You know, so I'm feeling pretty good, gang, pretty good. But we'll see. Steve surprised me last year.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like, I was so close last year, and I thought I was gonna lose it. We'll see. We still got the Nintendo predictions to say to talk about on Wednesday with Chewy. Maybe we need a separate trophy for those. Who knows? So Chewy can be up for the
otherwise
win.
He can't win, right? Because if I win this and I win that, then I'm the champion. But if he wins that and I win this, then what happens? You know, or
we're gonna have to do a separate Nintendo Noise trophy. For
okay.
Chewy.
All right. Yeah, we'll have two then. That's good. Okay. I feel like we should do belts instead of trophies, because then you can layer the belts if you win both of them. Like you're like a wrestling champion, you know?
What about like army medals? You know, where they have the like
it's like the purple heart
things.
It's the purple cartridge. Yes. That's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, if you want to write in with your predictions for 2022, whether it's on this side of the fence or the Nintendo side of the fence, write in all those ways we said you could at the top. Questions at flipscreen.games. You can go head over to flipscreen.games, our website, join the Discord, find us on social media. All of those are easy, free ways for you to interact, become a part of the community, get your thoughts right on the air. But if you want to go the extra mile for your support, remember, we really need those reviews. So wherever you listen to the show, please leave us a 5-star review, share it with a friend, let people know that we are out here, that you enjoy the shows that we put on for you every week, and that you think that they might too. That is, of course, one of the biggest ways that you can help the show. If you want to go above and beyond and get some extra perks and goodies in the process, you can head over to patreon.com/flipscreengames and show us your support over there. Get some extra content in your feed with one more thing. Hear us talk about our New Year's resolutions. Go get the Twitch archive, become a Patreon producer, get your custom, one-of-a-kind video from me and Steve where we'll say whatever you want us to say to you, all kinds of good stuff. So go check it out. Of course, we'd really appreciate your support however you're able to show it. Even if it's just tuning into the show every week. We greatly appreciate you choosing to spend your time with us. There are a lot of video game podcasts out there, and we are proud to be yours. So thank you for joining us here on another episode of the FlipScreen Games podcast. I've been Pete. He's been Steve. We've been FlipScreen. We'll see you next week.